I'm Elaine Chapnick, President of the Larchmont Mamaroneck Local Summit, welcoming you to our March meeting. Despite today's nasty weather, spring is on its way, and already we see lots of new shoots poking up in our gardens. So it's a good time to get an update from our elected officials about what's new in our community. Here to introduce them today is our today's chair, Peggy Jackson.
Good morning, everyone. Thank you for joining us. I'm going to do a very brief introduction on our three panelists because everyone knows them. One quick note, unfortunately, Jaine Elkindini has a funeral to attend, so she's going to be leaving us at about 8:30. And she's asked if anyone has any questions directly for the town to please send them to supervisor@townofmamaroneck.org.
townofmamaroneckny.org.
Excuse me. Thank you, Jane. So quick, three little bios, and then we'll move right into presentations about Jaine Elkindini. Jaine Elkindini is the supervisor of the town of Mamaroneck and was elected to that office in November 2021. Prior to becoming supervisor, Jaine served on the town board as a councilwoman from January 2012 through December 2021, also serving as a deputy supervisor for 5 years from January 2017 through December 2021. Prior to joining the town board, Jaine was the deputy mayor / trustee of the village of Larchmont. Before becoming an elected official, Jaine served as the town of Mamaroneck as a member of the town's Board of Assessment Review for 17 years, serving as chair for 14 of those years. She'll be our first speaker. Next will be Tom Murphy. Mayor Murphy was born and raised in New York City. He moved to Mamaroneck and immediately became involved in the community via coaching sports. This led to further civic involvement. He has served as village trustee, town of Mamaroneck councilperson, and has been elected to two terms to the position of mayor of the village of Mamaroneck.
3 terms.
I'm sorry, I just read what you sent me. Sorry, 3 terms. Sarah Bauer. As a Westchester County native, Sarah grew up in Briarcliff Manor, but fell in love with Larchmont's sense of community, its walkability, and its beautiful vistas on the Sound. She moved to an apartment near Larchmont's downtown after graduating law school, and a few short years afterwards bought a house in the village. Sarah's a practicing attorney in the family law firm. She has spent many years involved in the Larchmont community and served as a member of the Chatsworth PTA, as head of various committees for over 7 years, and on the PTA executive committee for 2 years. 2015 to 2018, Sarah was the director and a founding member of Preserve Larchmont, a local community organization that worked with the village to improve and update the local zoning code. And I'm going to turn it over immediately to Jaine, and off you go.
Thank you so much, Peggy. And first, I want to thank the summit for holding this forum. I think it's really important to have different ways to communicate with the residents. And you provide that forum on so many issues. So thank you so much for doing that. Well, the town survived its first year with me, and I survived my first year in the town. We're still standing. The biggest project that we're working on right now is our comprehensive plan update, which we call Together Our Mamaroneck. And what a comprehensive plan is, it's a blueprint that sets forth a vision for the future of the town, and it informs the actions taken by the town board. It's based on input from residents and stakeholders in the community. So when we started this, we started by getting the input. We had numerous info sessions, workshops in person, pop-up listening sessions, community events, and then we did an online survey. So once we got all the information in, our comprehensive plan consultants, which is Pace University Land Use Law Center, sort of did a framework of what the comprehensive plan would look like. And then we had even more work sessions and listening sessions and a survey so that we would be able to see if the residents thought what we did so far was right. And now we are at the point where the comp plan consultants are off writing the comp plan, which we hope to have sometime next month. And then there'll be more community input. And, you know, this is supposed to be a living document that informs future actions for the town. So we think it's incredibly important. The other thing that we are always looking for is sources of grant funding so that our improvements and things that we deem necessary aren't on the taxpayer dime. So this year we were very fortunate. The most exciting grant we got was a $300,000 grant from the county. And I want to thank George Latimer and Catherine Parker for this. And it was for a comprehensive study of our stormwater system. We had identified 15 areas in the town that are prone to flooding, and we decided that it would not be a smart way to do it to fix each place individually, because no one's ever studied the stormwater system. We don't know if we fix a problem here, if we're going to cause a problem someplace else. So what we wanted to do was do a comprehensive study. And I have to say, I called the county and they put the money in the budget. It's the easiest grant application I ever did. And this grant was full of firsts, because it's the first time that the stormwater system has been studied in the town. And it's also the first time we got a grant to do a study rather than having to pay for the study and wait to apply for grants when you're doing the implementation. So what we hope to do is identify defects in the stormwater system and repair them, thus reducing the frequency and severity of flooding in the community. We also got a $64,000 grant from the New York State Department of Environmental Conservation for a truck that will pick up food scraps from Maxwell Avenue, where people take their food scrap recycling, and then it will take it to where it's disposed of for recycling. Another thing I placed a very heavy emphasis on this year was communication with residents. I think that we're a representative government, and it's really important to me and the town board that the residents know what we're doing and that we hear from the residents. So the first thing we did was we got a new website, and it's much more user-friendly and has much more information on it. And I urge you all to go to www.townmamaroneckny.org and look at the website, and please, please, please sign up for notifications and alerts. You'll get any information you want. You know, you can sign up for what you do want, but you know, again, it's important. I've also enhanced our monthly e-newsletters, and now in the last year, subscription has gone up 25%, which is something I'm incredibly proud of. And then we also put our newsletter out on all the Facebook pages, the local ones like Love Larchmont. So we're trying to get as many people as possible to know what's going on. And again, please sign up on the website and it will come right to you. And then we added a new feature this year called This Month in Mamaroneck Town Happenings. And we send it out on the first of every month, and it lists all the meetings of all the boards, commissions, the town boards, all the events, everything that's happening in the community, the time and the location, again, so you can go, you can see, and you can be involved. We've taken a lot of time also this year on our infrastructure. So all of you who ride up Weaver Street on your cell phones must be thrilled to know that the calls don't drop when you get to Bonnie Briar. I think if I've accomplished anything this year, that's probably the thing that's made the residents the happiest. And it makes me happy because I'm talking on the phone too. Back in 2018, we did a sanitary sewer evaluation study, and with our neighboring communities, and from that came a list of defects in the sanitary sewer system and required actions to bring them up to date. And we got a grant funding to do that too. And I'm happy to say that we're the first community in our consortium that this year finished all of the required and recommended sewer repairs. And so hopefully that prevents leaks, and we need a good sanitary sewer system. It's the hallmark of a civilized society, I think. We've done a lot of paving this year. We reconfigured the Myrtle Avenue North Chatsworth intersection, which is always a source of a lot of discussion. We landscaped and repaved the senior center parking lot, and we have completed repairs to the parking deck on Myrtle Boulevard. We've done a lot of environmental work this year. I'm proud that the town continues to be at the forefront of the environmental arena. The town board went paperless. So now we have iPads and we get all our packages electronically, and that probably saves a tree for every meeting. And I don't have piles of paper all over my house. So I think that's a great thing. We receive a certification as a climate smart community, or recertified this year. So back in 2016, when the program started, we were only the 9th community in the entire state to receive that certification. And I'm proud to say that this year it's a 5-year certification. At the time we renewed it, we were the only community in all of New York State to have been recertified for a second time. Some other environmental honors: we achieved Tree City USA this year for the 30th year in a row. We had 2 environmental cleanups, one in the spring and one in the fall. And we hosted a repair cafe, which promotes repair as a better alternative to tossing things in the waste stream. That was very successful. We had music, we had food. It was a real community event, and we accomplished a lot. On the financial front, we maintained our AAA Moody's rating, which is the best rating that we could possibly get. And what that does is enable us to borrow at the lowest possible rate. So that's, again, saving taxpayer money. So, and then finally, on the safety front, our fire engines service I-95, and they get on southbound in Larchmont. And because of the way the thruway is configured, they have, if they respond to something on northbound side, they had to cut across 3 lanes of traffic to get to the turnaround to go north to respond to an incident. And where the turnaround was located was so close to the entrance, there was no time for them to safely get across to do through the cut through. So they had to go all the way down to New Rochelle, get off and get on. And that added 10 minutes to the response time, which when you're having an accident or a car fire is a lifetime. So with the help of Steve, Otis, and Shelley Mayer and our fire department, we lobbied hard to the New York Thruway Authority, who wanted to let this project wait until 2026, and got them to do it this past fall. And our emergency responders are thrilled because it enables them to do their job more quickly and more safely. So what are we looking forward to in 2023? Among other things, we're doing a lot of recreational improvements. One of the things that came through in our comprehensive plan is that the residents really want improved and expanded recreational facilities. So one of the first things we're doing, which we started, is a renovation to Memorial Park. The last time that was done was in 2000 and 2001. And so to say that safety standards and equipment standards have changed is an understatement. So we'll be putting in equipment that will service toddlers to 12-year-olds. There'll be a new safety service, walkways, benches, and it should be, you know, a more usable, larger park. We're also working with Fields for Kids and improving the Hommocks fields. We're just about to embark on an environmental and feasibility study to see what can be done with those fields. And once we know the results of the study, then we'll work together to, you know, fashion what improvements will be on there. We also got a grant from Steve, Otis, and Shelley Mayer to study the pool area, because we want to figure out how best to use that limited space. You know, that is all we have for a pool. So we're doing a design study now to see how, you know, how to make the most of a little bit of space. And finally, we're going to be working on affordable and more opportunities for variety of housing. You know, we want people at all price points to live in our community, and that's getting harder and harder. And then, which is a whole nother discussion, the governor came down with a housing compact, which I think will have some requirements that we will have to adhere to. And we're trying to get ahead of that, but really fundamentally, we think we want the community to be welcoming to all people. And then the last thing is we are going to finish the comprehensive plan, and within that do an implementation plan, which will, you know, give us the actions and the steps to achieve the goals. Oh, and I forgot, we're doing a tree law now too, to regulate how people take down trees on their property, so that we can preserve the tree canopy and our leafy, beautiful community. Now, none of this would be possible without our dedicated staff who really work tirelessly under the direction of or leadership of our town administrator, Meredith Robson. So I want to thank them all for all that they do to make this community work, and our many community-minded volunteers who put in endless hours to serve our community. So I want to thank everybody for the opportunity to speak, and I'll pass the mantle to Tom.
Okay, thank you, Jane. There's been a lot going on in the village of Mamaroneck, especially in the past, I don't know, since the beginning of the year. As Jane talked about the comprehensive plan, we had a visit from our consultant we have a comprehensive plan. We are updating it. That should be done by June. We set up a time frame last night, finally complete it. The public input part has been finished. There were a lot of different changes from what the community wanted 10 years ago to what the community wants to see in Mamaroneck now. And we're hoping to have a plan that's reflective of that. So then that was just last night. Also last night on the affordable housing front, if you know Old Village Hall on Prospect Avenue, where the police station is in the village of Mamaroneck, across the street from there is a parking lot. It's called Hunter Lot. It's a two-tiered parking lot. It was built probably in the late 80s, and it probably started becoming defective in the late 90s. And we've been doing patchwork repair to it for decades. What we did last night is we scheduled a public hearing to rezone that property. Right now, that property is owned by the village, but it's zoned R5, which is the smallest density. That's a 5,000 square foot. You could build one house there under our current zoning. What we are zoning it to is C2, which is the area that abuts and is contiguous to that property. C2 is our most dense residential zone. And the village, after it's rezoned, is going to put out RFP to developers for all affordable housing. It won't be a combination. It won't be a hybrid. Every apartment in that development is going to be affordable at some rate. You know, it's going to have to be worked out with the builders and the builders who do affordable. And we've been contacted by some of them so that we're going to be able to reach people at the 80% rate. The 80% rate is it's kind of a misnomer to call it affordable. For a family of three, it's $90,000, which is a good income. But we want to reach people who are making $60,000. We want to reach people who are making $40,000, because the village of Mamaroneck is one of the most diverse places in Westchester County. But that diversity is not going to survive on its own. It needs to be nurtured, because years ago, folks would live in houses that their grandparents had lived in. They'd buy them off their parents and they'd stay. But with the price of real estate exploding and houses sold for, exponential sums of what people paid for them, families can't afford to do that anymore, because that house is their only investment a lot of times. And the parents or the grandparents need that money to survive for the rest of their lives. So consequently, they're selling it to folks from, out of the community, which is fine. And I realize that one of the economic engines of this area is real estate. But it for a village like Mamaroneck that is historically been so generationally driven, and there's so many people who have been here for generations, and they volunteer in our all volunteer fire department, and they truly made this place work, and they built this place. They deserve an opportunity to stay in the community. They deserve an opportunity to have their children begin life in this community, and that's what we want to do. And, we want to also work to keep the ethnic diversity that the village of Mamaroneck is famous for, actually. And I don't believe that any of those will survive, especially in the current, economic world, unless the government takes an action to help them survive. And so this will be good for the whole community. The area will be close to shopping. It'll be close to, obviously, the Mamaroneck Avenue. It'll be next to the library. So, I'm sure there's going to be pushback. There always is pushback, and usually, there's the normal pushback of, I just don't like affordable housing. It's, government, getting involved in something it shouldn't get involved in. So you have that. And then you have the more insidious, I support affordable housing, but we don't really need it in this area. Those are the most dangerous words that you hear, because it's either you support it or you don't support it, and you're working hard. And if it's something that's truly a core value, you want to get it done, and you find reasons to do it and not reasons not to do it. And it's very personal to me. As Peggy read, I grew up in New York City, but I grew up in an affordable housing development in New York City. And it afforded my family, an affordable 2-bedroom apartment where, where we were, my mother and father raised, 3 kids and my sister, and, all in a 2-bedroom apartment. But, it was clean, it was safe, it was affordable, and it was a good development. And it benefited us, and I believe allowed us to have a leg up in life, allowed my parents to save money to send us to college. And, it is a boon to everybody. We all do well when we all do well. And I truly believe that. Only when we all do well. You may have noticed that the Village of Mamaroneck is now building a dog park. This has been something that's been discussed in the community since I got involved in the community years ago. And it's finally coming to fruition in Harbor Island Park. It's a 1-acre site. It'll have a section for smaller dogs, a section for bigger dogs. It'll have an area to wash your dog's feet off before the dog gets back into the car. You will have to access it through a fob. To get the fob, you'll have to pay a small fee, and you'll have to prove that your dog is licensed and has all its shots. So we're going to promulgate rules and for using the park, and that'll be coming out soon. But it's something that's been wanted by the community for a generation. I know I like to point out that when we first started talking about this, all the dogs that would have benefited at that time have now long passed the Rainbow Bridge. So we have a new generation of animals to service, but really it's about the people who own the animals. For a lot of people in the Village of Mamaroneck, Harbor Island Park is their backyard. They don't have backyards. They live in apartments. I experienced that myself. And, if they have a pup, they'd like to run them. And we don't want dogs running off the leash in Harbor Island Park. And that's been a problem. So we're hoping this is kind of the solution to that problem, because we don't want people running their dogs when, there's children in the park. So if you want to run your dog off the leash, this is the way to, access that in the Village of Mamaroneck. There's been a lot of outreach in the community to people who haven't felt a part of Mamaroneck and haven't felt a trust for government in general. That's, the immigrant community in Mamaroneck. We have done a lot of work with putting out information bilingually. The village manager has office hours, I think at least once a month in the evening, so that folks who work and whose main language is Spanish can come in and talk about the problems that they're having directly with the village manager who speaks Spanish. But he also has an assistant who is Spanish first language, and they have been having a lot of success in letting folks know that the Village of Mamaroneck government is there to serve all the residents. And that was not always the case. It was not always the feeling. And the Village of Mamaroneck Police Department has also been instrumental in that. The new chief, Sandra DeRuza, has worked hard to reach out to the immigrant community and to make officers more accessible. We have, in the last few years, hired a lot of officers who speak Spanish. We try to have at least one officer on every shift who speaks Spanish. And I think that this is very important because we want people to know that, this is a community that wants you to be involved, that wants you to be included, and that, you're as valued a member as anybody. And, we're all in this together. And there's, a lot of the folks did the essential work during COVID when, many folks were sheltering at home. Society went on because a lot of the immigrant community still went to work and did the essential work that kept us all able to shelter at home. So we want to thank them by making them know that they are an essential part of the Village of Mamaroneck. The Army Corps of Engineer plan, while it seems, if you flood and if you're affected by flooding, it seems laboriously slow. But in terms of how government works, it's really been picking up speed. It's important to remember that on August 31st, 2021, there was no plan. The plan was dead. It had been killed in the Trump administration. And after the horrific flood that we experienced on September 1st, 2021, through a lot of cajoling by elected officials and residents, and through, truthfully, the massive help that we received from Senator Schumer, who put the funding for the plan that was killed in the past administration in the Ida Recovery Act, and got it funded and got the ball rolling again. The Army Corps is now almost complete with the plans for the Ward Avenue Bridge, which is the first stage. They work from the bottom of the watershed up. That's their scientific progress. They feel that is the way that by alleviating the bottlenecks at the bottom, it also helps those at the top, and then you work your way upriver through the bottlenecks and through the problems. So that should be beginning, construction sometime next year. And while that is still in the process of being worked through, the village is also doing parallel mitigation. We are right now cleaning debris and detritus by the bridges. We bought an excavator to do that. We have applied for permits from the Army Corps and from New York State, which we hope to be getting soon, to actually dredge areas where the Army Corps is not currently planning to work. So we're not going to do any work in the areas that the Army Corps is going to kind of refashion the rivers, but we're trying to bring more volume to the areas that the Army Corps wasn't going to touch, because the more water obviously we can keep in the confines of the river, the better it is for everybody in the community. So we're not just waiting for help from the outside government. We've devoted almost $1.3 million to this project, and it's beginning to happen now. And it's vital to keep moving with many parallel mitigation projects. The cornerstone of making Mamaroneck flood resistant and frankly, a viable community going forward is the Army Corps plan. But that can't be the only mechanism that we use. So we're trying to come up with new mechanisms. There's a proposal now to use pumps in certain areas where the water has to make a couple of 90-degree turns by Columbus Park to pump that water out quicker, so that it doesn't bottleneck there and then have a ripple effect upstream, and especially in Washingtonville. I just want to take a second to thank everyone, the government of Larchmont and the government of the town of Mamaroneck, and so many generous people throughout this community who did so much to help our residents who were so catastrophically afflicted by the past flood. The generosity of our communities was overwhelming, and we appreciate it. And obviously, if that favor ever needs to be returned, and I hope it never does for your sake, but if it ever needs to be returned, the Village of Mamaroneck will be there for all of you. But I just want to express how grateful I truly am to everyone who helped out. What else is going on? In terms of communication, we send out a weekly newsletter that delineates everything that's coming up in the next week. And also how to access village board meetings. We are the only board in the community that televises as work sessions to have greater transparency with the community. We also televise our land use board meetings, which has been actually a big hit. You'd be surprised how many people want to watch zoning board meetings. And, I personally probably send out 2 emails a week to the community, discussing issues that I think are important for the community to know, trying to elicit input from the community. So we have a lot going on. We have just renewed our village manager's contract for 4 years, and I am very happy to do that. He has gotten a lot done in his time here. Like all of us, he is an imperfect human, but he gets the job done, and he really, really cares about the people of the community. And what matters to me too is that he really cares about those whose voices have historically been ignored, not just in the Village of Mamaroneck, but in society. And that to me is the purpose of government, right? To try and give everybody at least a shot at success, at least a shot at upward mobility. What else do we have? I'll wind up soon. The Village of Mamaroneck is currently working on its budget. Last night, we approved an increase to the sewer rent law. As Jaine was speaking about before, we are under consent decree from the Department of Justice and from New York State to do extensive sewer work. The community has kicked the can down the road for generations. Sewers, if you're an elected official, is not a sexy topic. People don't see them. People don't even know that they exist until they don't work. And then they become, as Jaine said, a very big problem. So we have increased the sewer rent fee because that is the mechanism that the state allows us to fund these projects. And we have a lot of staff time involved in it too. And the benefit of the sewer rent fee is that it falls very heavily on businesses and entities that use a lot of water because it's based upon water consumption. So say the Mamaroneck Diner and the County Wastewater Treatment Center, they pay a much larger fee because they're using a lot of water. So it takes the onus off of the taxpayer and allows the people who are actually consuming the water to pay for then the treatment of that water and getting that water to the sewage treatment plant. So we think it's a much more equitable way of sharing the burden. And it also captures people, entities that aren't taxpayers, churches, schools, like I said, Westchester County, all of these folks who use a lot of water and who have facilities in the community, they have to pay the sewer rent fee. So if this was included in your tax bill, those entities wouldn't have any skin in the game. So I think that that's the best way to go. Right now, our projected tax increase is at 1.16%, well under the tax cap. And I'm not sure it's going to exactly stay that through the end of the process, I'm sorry, but it'll definitely be in that ballpark. I have to go through the budget and make sure that there's things that are funded that need to be funded, and some areas where we've been asked to contribute more, one of them being the Community Counseling Center, which is a vital public service to this community. And, if we can afford it, I would like to see us fund that to a greater degree. As all of us know, it's been a very difficult time the past 3 years for families dealing with COVID, and for children who weren't able to go to school for a couple of years. And that's all had a ripple effect on the psyche of a lot of people and of the community as a whole. And the Community Counseling Center has done great work in that area, and we want to make sure that they're there in the future to continue that great work. So I think that's just about it for me. And I really appreciate this opportunity at the summit to, give us a chance to address the community and let the community know the good that's happening in our community, and also the challenges that our community faces. And if there are questions, I can stay around a little bit longer. Thank you.
You're on.
Hi, I'm a little new to the mayor position. I've only been mayor for about 4 months now, but we have a lot of very exciting things going on in Larchmont. I'll start with our finances. It's budget season, so we're going through that process now. We anticipate for the 5th year in a row, we will pass a tax compliant budget. We work very hard every year to ensure that we keep our tax increases under the tax cap. And if possible, keep our our tax increases under 2% or less, while still maintaining that level of service that our residents expect. And this year is no exception. Even though there's the 11% inflation and a lot of our costs have gone up, we've tried very hard to make sure that our taxes are not going to go up significantly. In terms of our infrastructure, we're also focused on sewers. I know it's not very exciting, but over the past 6 years, we spent over $1.6 million really rehabbing our sewers. And a lot of that is grant money as well. We continue to be committed to the maintenance and repair of our stormwater system, including a flood mitigation modeling project in the Pinebrook neighborhood. We're doing that with the assistance of some grant money from the county. One of the most visible areas of our infrastructure, and the one that we get the most complaints about, are our roads. So we've really embarked upon a very significant road paving commitment. So we paved more roads than we've ever paved before last year. We're going to continue with that again this year. So hopefully we will really make some progress in that area. And then near and dear to my heart, one of the best things about Larchmont are all of our fabulous parks. We've completed the renovation in Constitution Park and Turtle Park. We're now turning our focus to Willow Park and to Flint. Thanks to the Friends of Larchmont Parks, we are upgrading the playground and the basketball courts in Willow and putting up new fencing. So that really should enhance that park. And then Flint Park, we are doing a complete renovation with the Flint Park Conservancy, who has done an amazing job really putting together a fantastic plan for that park. We're going to put in a brand new accessible playground, new basketball courts. We are doing a rehab of Flint Front. We're upgrading or replacing the turf field in the back. And we are reimagining the tennis house. If anyone has been in that tennis house in those terrifying bathrooms, it is going to be absolutely gorgeous. They are going to put in brand new bathrooms. There's going to be a community event space, and there's going to be a kitchen. So there'll be food service. So we're very, very excited about that. We anticipate phase 1 should be done by the end of next year, which will start this summer with the playground and the basketball courts. and the tennis house, and then the fields by the end of next year. And then hopefully we'll move into phase 2, which will be the playhouse. So that park will be absolutely spectacular. We're very excited about that. So we've also worked very hard to improve the staffing in Village Hall. One of the things that we also often get complaints about are building department and the land use application process. So we're really looking at overhauling that entire process. We have improved our staff, increased our staff in the building department to make it more user-friendly and easier to do, to go through that process, where we passed a law last night, 2 laws actually last night, that would significantly decrease the number of projects that would actually have to go for site plan approval. So when we were looking at how it would change if we increased the threshold for site plan review, out of 21 applications that went over a certain period last year, only 6 would have had to go. So it really will dramatically reduce the hoops that residents have to jump through when they want to do projects. We also, made a small change to the ARB. Previously, everything would just get sent to them. We made it clear in the law that we passed last night that replacements in kind do not require ARB approval, because really it's just another hoop for residents to jump through. And the ARB, if it was a replacement in kind, wouldn't really, discuss the project. They would simply approve it at their meeting. So it really takes burden off the ARB and off of residents if that can just be done through the building department. We've also hired an assistant civil engineer, which paves the way for the village's first on-staff engineer since the early 2000s, so in almost 20 years, which is very exciting. And I think that will also really enhance our building department. And we hired our first ever assistant village administrator, which has really also made a big difference in terms of, getting a lot more accomplished within our staffing and within Village Hall. And he is Elon Katzin, and he's also taken over our newsletter and our social media. One of my first tasks when I became a trustee was to sort of figure out the village newsletter. So we sent out our first digital email newsletter in 2019. And we have really made a lot of progress, increasing our subscribers and really taking over, improving our use of social media. So I think we have a really robust way to communicate with our residents. We have a very significant subscriber list. So please look out for our newsletters. If you haven't subscribed, please do so. There's a button right on the front page of our website. Which actually, speaking of, we are also in the process of revamping. We hope within the next couple of months, we will have a brand new website live, which will be much more user-friendly, much easier to use, with a lot more information on it. So we are very, very excited about that. In addition, we've always been at the forefront in terms of environmental programs. In 2022, was the first year of our gas-powered leaf blower ban. We were the first municipality in the Northeast to enact a gas-powered leaf blower ban. We have worked to support many other communities who have been interested in doing the same thing. It was very successful. We actually tweaked the law a little bit again last night at our board meeting, where the gas-powered leaf blowers are completely banned. Electric leaf blowers are allowed in the spring and in the fall, and we expanded the spring window slightly for the gas-powered leaf blowers based on sort of feedback from residents and landscapers. So that is going extremely well. We were awarded a New York State zero emission vehicle grant for the purchase and installation of 3 electric vehicle chargers. One has already been installed on Addison Street. There are 2 more that are waiting approval from Con Ed. One will be installed in front of the library, and one will be over on Went Avenue in Lot 10. We have maintained our commitment to the environment. Not only do we have the electrical vehicle chargers, but we also have instituted our green fleet policy. So whenever the village goes to purchase a new vehicle, we evaluate, is electric or hybrid a better option? And so we've really started replacing a lot of our fleet with either electric or hybrid vehicles. And not only is it better for the environment, but we've also seen significant savings in terms of both maintenance and gas. So it's really been a huge benefit to the village. Our environmental committee is absolutely amazing, and we are continuing on working with them. And we're very excited that we've created our climate smart task force, so we can begin racking up points in that so that we can be eligible for the different grant levels. Next up, we have spent a lot of time really making sure that our business district is healthy. As a business owner, that is also extremely important to me. Our district is thriving. Our vacancy rate is at an all-time low. Our partnership with the business community, including the continuation of our outdoor dining permits, special events, really ensures the success of our merchants and our restaurants. And following on the success of the Centro building that was built over on Chatsworth, in order to explore more opportunities and other improvements we can make in the business district, we've committed to engage in a comprehensive downtown study to review zoning changes that may be appropriate to allow for some additional development and housing opportunities, including affordable housing opportunities, while ensuring that we do so responsibly and don't overburden our infrastructure or our services. It's always challenging to do these things when you have 100-year-old sewer and water pipes. And in terms of affordable housing, obviously that's something that's on everybody's radar, something that we're all very focused on. In looking at our numbers, we're very excited to see that 15% of the village's housing is affordable housing. So for a place that is as small as we are, I think that's certainly meaningful, and we would like to continue to expand and improve upon that, and determine where in our downtown may be appropriate to continue to add to that. Ongoing initiatives, I touched on this briefly. We're looking at overhauling our land use application process, so that's going to continue on as we look at other changes that we can make to make that process more user friendly, including looking into new land use software for our building department. Our website is coming along. Again, we hope to have that up and running in the next couple of months. We're looking at new technology to continue to really modernize the way we do things. It may not seem like a big thing, but being able to pay bills online, to pay the tax bills and the water bills and parking tickets, things like that, really, makes life much easier for our residents. So we're looking at additional ways that we can kind of build upon that and make interactions much more user friendly. And we are very excited. We're going to take a deep dive this year into our recreation department and figure out ways to improve and enhance and expand the services and the programs that we offer, especially in conjunction with our newly redesigned Flint Park. We think this is the perfect time and a great opportunity to really look at ways that we can improve the way we provide our recreation services.
Okay, I'm going to move quickly and open it up to questions because we have a large number of them. Teresa Coiler has had her hand up since we've begun. So can she be, Teresa, you need to unmic or turn on your mic.
I'm sorry, I raised my hand in error. I actually did not have a question.
Okay, then we're going to move on. It's questions from Robert Fleigel. What is happening with the sport time facility at Harbor Island?
Sport time.
Okay, the sport time facility at Harbor Island, their contract is up, I think, next year. And, we're going to be talking with the Recreation Board about what we need to do for the community. But I imagine, we will be talking with Sport Time about their contract and about renewing their contract in some form. That's all I could really say about that right now.
Next question from Kathy Dornbush. Question for Tom Murphy. What is being done to repair the Hunter parking lot, the parking spots that are not available?
I think I covered that when I talked about the affordable housing that we're looking to put there. What we'll be doing when we put out the RFP, we will be asking the developer to provide the village with the same amount of parking that we have now, and then put their building on top of it.
Okay. What specific affordable housing projects in your community require county assistance? Good program, George Latimer, County Executive.
Listen, I think that the county can assist in a lot of ways. The biggest assistance they could give us is, a grant to facilitate maybe the infrastructure for an affordable housing building. The county has been, helpful and generous in every aspect. And we look forward to having discussions with them about how they could be helpful once we get this project off the ground. But right now, since it's just in the planning stages, I think that we have to sit down and see what our needs are and assess that, and then go back to talk to George and the folks at the county about how they could help us get this done. Because I think, and I'm hoping that the Village of Mamaroneck in this whole kerfuffle about affordability can be one of the leaders in how to handle this. I don't think we can build our way out of this, right? In terms of just keep building market rate housing and hoping that that drives down the price sufficiently to allow there to be affordability down the line. Because that's been happening in the Village of Mamaroneck. Market rate housing has been built a lot over the past 20 years, and it hasn't made affordable housing more accessible. So I think that, for the governor's plan to have that as the template, I don't know if it works upstate, but I don't think it works in very desirable suburban communities.
Sarah, do you want to tackle that one?
Oh, well, yeah, and actually we had a couple of officials from the county come talk to us last week at our board meeting as well, to talk about the different ways that the county can support additional affordable housing. So we were very happy with the outcome of that conversation. And again, as we engage in our comprehensive downtown study, I think we will call upon the county certainly to provide some assistance in that respect. And I echo what Tom said as well with regards to the governor's plan, that the one size fits all doesn't work for us, and it doesn't. If the goal is to create affordable housing, I don't think that plan accomplishes that goal. And that really is where the focus should be, and really the best way to accomplish that is to give us the assistance that we need to do that. We need to think about our infrastructure. We need to think about our public services. We need to be able to support the additional housing that we're creating. And if you can give us that assistance, it makes it easier for us to engage in these projects. But simply saying you have to put up X number of units in X period of time, or we're taking away your ability to regulate your own zoning, doesn't really benefit, I think, the municipalities or the residents, and it goes forward toward accomplishing the goal of creating more affordable housing.
Okay, next question is for Tom Murphy. Motorists tend not to obey the crosswalk created at Prospect and Fenimore Road. Is anything being done to increase enforcement? Parentheses, putting up a sign to say it is a state law to stop, putting up solar blinking lights to indicate someone is about to cross, police presence at times, are going to school, in parentheses.
Tom, I think you're on
You're
mute.
muted.
I'm sorry. We will look at enforcement. Part of what that crosswalk improvement on Prospect and Fenimore does is, by narrowing the lanes to one lane each, it definitely slows down traffic, and it also start in crossing the street.
Tom, we're having some trouble with your audio.
Can you hear me now?
Yes.
I turned on the car to try and get some heat. Uh, One of the reasons for that change on Prospect and Fenimore was to give people who were crossing a habitually bad corner an easier time to cross, because it lengthens, it shortens the stretch that you have to cross, right? Instead of crossing 4 lanes, you're only crossing 2 lanes. And also the narrowing of the road to those 2 lanes, we know slows traffic. And there are signs that it's coming up, and there are signs on both sides. But, listen, enforcement is always going to be an issue. We will definitely look at that. But, what was it? Pogo, we have met the enemy and he is us. 90% of the time, the people who are, ignoring traffic laws and speeding through our community are our own residents. So people need to know that if there's someone standing in a crosswalk waiting to cross, you should stop and allow them the opportunity to cross. That particular corner, it's an improvement. Is it the 100%? No one's ever going to violate the law again? No, of course not. So what you do is you constantly make improvements. You use enforcement to put a point on that improvement. But we're making improvements all over the village, traffic wise, and I think that in the end, that's a good investment for the community.
Okay, Sarah, this one's for you. Is there any thought of removing the parking meters in Larchmont Village? Have the meters affected the number of shoppers in downtown Larchmont?
No, we do not anticipate removing the meters. I'm a local business owner. From my perspective, it certainly has not impacted negatively impacted the shoppers, as far as I can tell. In fact, if anything, it's improved it. And I know from my perspective, driving around, I have no problem getting a spot now where I couldn't before. I think one of the things that we discovered was that many of the spots that were taken, particularly over by Palmer, were people who were taking advantage of our free parking, leaving their cars all day, and then commuting into the city. So that this has really improved the flow and the availability of parking spaces. So you hear a lot less from residents that I had to circle around, 50 times and I couldn't park. So I went home and I ordered it online. I think if anything, it will hopefully encourage more residents to shop locally, because now they actually can get parking spaces and go into the store that they're interested in shopping in.
Tom, this is back to you. How many units could be constructed in the highest density designation in the village of Mamaroneck?
I don't have that number off the top of my head.
Okay, I've got 2 more from people that have written in questions. Can you please explain what is happening with Con Ed billing increases and their plans to request approval for another rate hike? We have clearly reduced our usage and our Con Ed charges have increased by several $100s per month.
Listen, that's not my strong point. The economics of Con Ed. I would imagine that it's reflective of the price of fossil fuels, and that you can see that when you go to the pump, right? But listen, if it was up to me, utilities would be public utilities owned by the public and not for a profit basis. But I don't see that happening because it's been pretty apparent that it's not up to me.
Sarah?
I echo what Tom said. There really isn't much as local officials that we can do. We don't really have a whole lot of control over Con Ed as a private company. It's very frustrating. I wish there was more that we could do, but unfortunately that's just
2 more quick questions. Please provide an update on the renovation and reopening of the Larchmont movie theater, Sarah.
Oh, yes. Well, we are still waiting to see what the owner is going to do. He was engaged in the renovation and then COVID hit, so it sort of put a hold on things. My understanding is that they're revamping their plans and going to do something a little bit more scaled down than they had originally anticipated. So we're really just waiting for more information from the owner and the contractor as to when they intend to move forward again with that process.
Marlene Colbert has her hand up.
It's a question really for Tom in a way. Sarah, thank you for all the nice things you said about the work we've done in the environment, and thank you for all your help. But I wondered, it would be so much better for all our communities. It would be an environmental justice issue if everybody would eliminate electric gas-powered leaf blowers. I mean, those guys are out there, they don't have earplugs, they don't have any kind of face mask. So I wonder what the chances are, and I'm sorry the supervisor isn't there so that we can hear her answer about that, because I think it's so important. Thank you.
That's a good question. You know, I agree with you, and I applaud Larchmont for doing that. I know that our environmental community, who I'm sure you've interacted with, is going to make recommendations to that end, and then it will be up to the village board. You know, in the village of Mamaroneck, because of our diversity and not everybody having a landscaper, a lot of our residents do their own, you know, yard work and grass cuttings and all of that. And they, in the past, have felt, you know, put upon by our leaf blower law. We had the first leaf blower law in the community, and you know, that limited the times where you could use a leaf blower, and also didn't even allow you to use an electric leaf blower because of the concern about the particulate matter that was raised just by blowing. But I think the time has come to look at that. You know, it just even from, you know, what you point out, Marlene, is all perfectly valid points, but even also from the fossil fuel point, right? We know it's better to allow the materials to mulch into your lawn. The village is now buying, you know, electric lawn mowers that are mulchers to try and facilitate that. And you know, I think it's a good idea. And I'm going to wait to see what the environmental committee, which is really, you know, like yours, has really been proactive and has made a lot of major changes and proposed a lot of major changes in the village of Mamaroneck that we have enacted as a board. So I'm going to wait to see their proposal, and I would not be adverse to it.
I want to thank our two mayors and our supervisor for joining us this morning. We've run over. There is one other question, Elaine, but that's for the summit. When will the summit meetings be held in person again?
We're working on that. We're looking at a lot of options. As a matter of fact, at our very next meeting, which is next week, we're going to come to some conclusions because we have now a lot of information about this very issue that we're going to chew on and come up with a response. So we are interested in looking at that same issue as well, and hope we come up with a good answer for everybody. I want to thank you, Peggy. Thank you, Nina. Thank you, Sarah, and Jaine and Tom for your presence this morning and answering, and your patience in answering a lot of the questions. Sorry we ran over, but we wanted to give everybody a chance, since these opportunities are rare, to ask whatever they can, and for you to have an opportunity to respond. We hope we see everybody next month. That would be our next meeting on April 11th, when we will hear from our superintendents of Mamaroneck and Rice schools. Thank you again, and thank you, LMC, for co-hosting our meetings.